Russia facts. Russia is a colossus of a nation, stretching across the entire north of the Eurasian supercontinent. It's also one of the oldest nations in the world, with a history going back 1,000 years. Describing Russia as a colossus of a nation is definitely not an understatement. Did you know that the country is so big? It has over a total of 11 time zones? Not only is this country huge in terms of landmass, it is also very, very rich. Russia is the world's largest source of natural gas and produces 21.3% of the world's total natural gas production. Should there be another world war in the future, Russia is armed and ready for any eventuality. The country possesses the world's biggest stockpile of nuclear weapons. Plus, it has the world's biggest forest reserves, second only to the Amazon rainforest in terms of oxygen production. Within these forests lie 266 mammal and 780 bird species. How amazing is that? When it comes to science and technology, do you know that we should thank the Russian scientists who are responsible for many of the technological advancements made in the last 20 years? Such as Dmitry Mendeleev, who invented the periodic table of elements. Also, Russian engineer and physicist Alexander Stepanovich created the radio receiver. Another brilliant Russian man is Vladimir Kosma-Zorykhin, who created the first ever electrical microscope. These are just a few examples of Russians' many contributions to science and technology. There's a story behind the word Russia. The root word goes back to the Kievan Rus, the medieval nation of the Eastern Slavs. In particular, they called their nation Russkaya Zemlya, which literally means land of Rus. This later led to the Byzantine Greek word Rozha, which the Eastern Roman Empire used to call the Kievan Rus. Rozha later evolved into the modern Rossiya, translated into English as Russia. Russians have two ways of calling themselves. First, we have Ruski, which properly refers only to ethnic Russians. Then we have Rossiyan, which means Russian citizen, used to refer to all Russians regardless of ethnicity. The size of Russia has led to a varied climate. Uniformities do exist, though, thanks to Russia's geography. In particular, the mountainous lands of southern Russia block warm air coming from the Indian Ocean. At the same time, the flat plains of northern and western Russia leave the country open to cold air from the Arctic and Atlantic Oceans. Both Siberia and have a subarctic climate, while southwestern Russia enjoys a subtropical climate. A subtropical climate is characterized by hot and humid summers and cool to mild winters. Meanwhile, the Arctic coast naturally has a polar climate, while the Caspian coast and parts of southern Siberia have a semi-arid climate. In general, Russia has long summers and winters, with extremes of hot and cold. Between those two seasons, the country has short springs and summers with more moderate temperatures. Russia has a rich biodiversity. Russia has the world's biggest forest reserves, second only to the Amazon rainforest when it comes to oxygen production. Imagine that. So much so, that many people describe Russia as the lungs of Europe. Russia also has 266 mammal species alone, and another 780 bird species. In all, 415 animal species enjoy government protection in Russia. The Kremlin lies at the heart of Russia. The Kremlin stands in Moscow, the Russian capital, where the Russian president uses the Kremlin as both his official residence and office. Historically, the modern Russian state grew outwards from Moscow. Starting in the 13th century, in those centuries, the Kremlin became the center of power in Moscow, even as the city became the center of Russia. Even after the Tsars moved to St. Petersburg in the 18th century, the Kremlin kept its symbolic power. The cathedral has a very long proper name. Its full name is the Cathedral of the Intercession of the Most Holy Theotokos on the Moat, which makes for quite a mouthful. Even the usual name of St. Basil's Cathedral actually counts as a contraction further of the Cathedral of Vasily the Blessed. Tetris came from Russia. Alexei Pajitnov from the Soviet Academy of Sciences first came up with the concept in 1979. Officially, he had the job of testing new hardware, But he also wanted to find a way for computers to make people happy. This led him to the idea of video games, and finally, recreating a Pentamino puzzle game from his childhood. During development, he changed the game pieces from pentaminos to tetraminos. He then came up with the name from the latter. Tetris, a Hungarian company, first began selling the game in 1986, and its popularity only snowballed from there. Today, Tetris not only remains one of the oldest video games in history, but also one of the most popular. It has sold over 200 million copies worldwide, available on over 65 different platforms. This has earned it a place in Guinness's Book of World Records for the most ported video game ever. Hopefully, you like the facts. There are dozens of more to tell. We will make next video again about Russia if we get enough likes on our video. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and like the video, and don't forget to mention your favorite part of video.